Welcome back to the Titanium Hangar. This is Mike, and I'm coming at you with the weekly news in review for February 11th, 2024. Everything sounds crazy about that. It's already 11th, it's already February, it's already 2024. Anyway, getting into that, there's, of course, some great Masterpiece news, some pretty cool Legends news in the Transformers realm, and then Hasbro actually announced some interesting stuff this week, so there's a lot to talk about with Transformers. A little bit of stuff going on with the superpowers. If you missed out on the Manta, you might be able to get it again for a reasonable price, or at least buy this entire wave for less than people are charging for Manta on secondary market. And then getting into Eternia. Eternias are starting to show up everywhere. King Grayskull, he's surfaced, but probably the rarest figure in the Origins line, commanding a hefty price. We're going to talk about a lot of this stuff here. Then we get into the Page Punchers. Now, I've already made a video about Page Punchers, so no need to make a long segment about it, but I will touch on it and definitely want to bring up some of the comments that people talked about that. Also, some box pictures of the Boss Fight Studio? The Fraggle Rock stuff. We're going to be talking a little bit about that stuff. And then Super 7 dropped their Copper Kid with the Space Racer, and it's pricey, and we're seeing some stuff sort of changing a little bit when it comes to price points and what you need to put non-refundable deposits down on. We're going to talk about that and kind of the future and direction that's going. And then we got this announcement from Star Wars. I'm passing on it, but I'm going to talk about it. But we'll get into this and more coming up. All right, so what's new at SHOWZ? Well, SHOWZ is going to be taking a break during this Chinese New Year, kind of like everyone else is doing in that part of the world, but 30MDLX Megatron G2 version 136. They have this in stock. This is one of those limited kind of releases. I went ahead and pre-ordered this. I'm not a huge fan of the G2 design of the tank Megatron, so having it a little bit stylized is cool for me, and it's kind of cool to have a representation of it. So for 136, 135.99, not really that bad, but I don't think they made very many of this one. I think this one is kind of a low-run variant. Also getting into the Takara Tomy and JAXA Lunar Cruiser Optimus Prime. Now I'm tempted on this one because it's just so cool. It turns into a Lunar Cruiser, and it's up for pre-order. I didn't know they had this. I didn't know they were offering this, but they are. So it's under the official tab, and that is really cool. $1 down, and it should see. It's saying it's going to show up late February. I'm not sure if it's going to hit that date. Takara usually hits the dates, and speaking of Takara usually hitting the date, I'm surprised that we haven't seen much more of this one here, but this is the missing link, and you can get the C01 or C02 Optimus Prime. It's the G1 with all of the modern articulation that they've added to the G1 style, and you can pre-order both of them here, also due out by the end of February. And remember, TH reviewer code, support the reviewer Titanium Hangar. If you want to, I'll send you this way. Hopefully I save you a little money. Alright, so getting into what I think is the biggest news for the week for Masterpiece Transformers, and that is the X-Transbots version of Ironhide. Also available for pre-order at SHOWZ right now, and I got mine pre-ordered for sure because I think it is a very necessary upgrade. A lot of these upgrades we get are just slightly marginally better, but I never really liked the one we got from the Takara one, and so you'll see that on the list when I make that video. But this is called Ron. It's the MX-47, and I don't have pricing information on it just yet, but it does look really good, and it's much better than what we've seen before. So I'm not really a huge fan of his split window design, but they're giving you some sort of an option, alternative piece to put over his chest window that shows it as one solid piece, and it looks like it's got a little electricity or something going with it. So that does enhance it just a bit, and that looks pretty cool. And it's a overall pretty clean, very G1 accurate looking figure. This is a tough character to hit just right to nail, but I think they've done a pretty good job with nailing the likeness of this character. Here's a side profile of him, and yeah, I mean, obviously they're making Ratchet too, and I think we've seen the Ratchet, but the Ironhide is definitely the one that needs to upgrade the most. The Ratchet from the Takara, I don't know why that one just looks a little bit better, the color scheme. It pulls off that mold better, but this is a much improved mold. Now, one thing about this is that I don't see any pictures anywhere from 3 different places I looked that show pictures about this. Didn't see any alt mode pictures. So I imagine the transformation's bare. Even the designers and the photographers didn't want to mess with transforming it, but I imagine it's going to be a bit of a challenge. It is. But with that, It'll look good in both modes, I'm sure. Alright, so we also got some really interesting information about this BWM14 Trans Arts. They are making a depth charge. I think we saw a hint at it, but this looks really good. I'm really impressed with the direction that Trans Art is going. They make some pretty solid figures. They've had a couple of minor issues in the past, but for the most part, all the figures are solid, and they nail the screen accuracy 100%. I do want to point out, though, that Takara has absolutely zero competition in the Beast Wars department. I don't know why that is. No company, no third-party company is going directly against Takara for Beast Wars. Is the Beast Wars market not big enough, or what? But I'm glad, I'm very happy that we have companies like Trans Art doing these trans metals and really expanding the Beast Wars and giving me what I like the most about Beast Wars, which is trans metals. This is due out in fourth quarter of 2024 and pretty awesome, and it's up for pre-order. All right, so we've got pictures of another Dreamstar Toys. They call it Top Raid, Air Raid. I want to be honest, I'm not 100% sure which ones have been released and which ones haven't been released on these. I love Superion, but it's a little bit too stylized to take, and stomaching the fans toys and already having the Zeta, I just really didn't go in on this. But I think they all look pretty cool, look pretty good. They all look so similar that I can't mentally keep track of which one I've talked about. So if there's new pictures up, I assume I haven't talked about it yet. Here's the alt mode, which I think it looks pretty good. It's pretty good overall. It's a nice looking in both modes, and probably a little more realistic looking than what we got with sort of a G1 aesthetic. And there's the arm. And yeah, it shows you what the arm looks like. So really cool looking set overall. I'm just curious how it's going to stack up when it's all fully combined. We got more pictures of the AMK Pro Series Optimus Prime to go along with the Megs. Good old Megs. I think he looks really good. I'm pretty impressed with the Megatron, and I think I'll be even more impressed with the Prime. In fact, I felt like the Megatron was the more substantial, important release, but then this Prime, the more you look at it, the more you say, yeah, it looks really good. Now, a lot of people are saying it doesn't transform, so it's not a Transformer, and I understand all of that. The scale doesn't fit with anything else. It's his own scale. So there's a lot of problems, but they're resolved by it looking so good. And they're $60 each in that little price range. I think it's definitely worth it. It does feel like a very premium action figure. If that's where I was going to go, it's what Red should have been. And then I think after this, we get the Starscream. So Metagate is putting out a picture of their next project. It's the G06 Blue Boy Drop Kick. And they allude to, I don't know a lot about Drop Kick, but they allude to it being a triple changer. They said the other two modes will be revealed in the future, meaning that they're going to show the other two modes in the future, which would be interesting to see how this shapes up. I think they're doing a really good job on their Shatter. It looks great. I mean, is it Shatter's one they're working on? And so pretty cool stuff. It seems pretty complex doing these triple changes, especially in the Bayverse. Well, it's not really the Bayverse, but the Bumblebee movie aspect. Still pretty cool stuff and challenging. I don't think anyone's going to take it on but them. Getting down to some legendary news, Legends. We are going to talk about this, and I got to say that these are two more reveals for some Square Magic Square. Pretty exciting, actually. I'm excited for it, and it's going to be that same old song and dance. I mean, what's the paint going to look like? I mean, we always see is grayscale. How's it going to look with the paint? Will they reissue them in slightly different paint variations? But I've got them pre-ordered, like I always do. I prefer like a toy look, so I should probably wait for the EX version because I don't really like the Dinobots in cartoon look as much. Anyway, so we have the MSB58 Brontosaurus Sludge and the MSB56 Tyrannosaurus Rex Grimlock. Here's the Grimlock alt mode. I have to admit that it's almost impossible to mess up Grimlock's alt mode. Wait, Hasbro did it. Hasbro did it in the Powder Primes one, but they were trying to combine it. Still, it looks fantastic. I mean, I think that these look really good, and I think that New Age did a slamming job on there, so it's really going to be hard for them to beat what New Age did. Will be very interesting to see them side by side and how they stack up. And then we get into a Sludge, which, speaking of New Age, I have New Age's Sludge on the way. And will be interesting to see how this works. I think all of these, whether it's New Age or Magic Square, is going to be a big upgrade from the DX9 and the MFT McFan's toys that upscaled the DX9 ones. It'll be a big improvement from those, even though those weren't bad. These all look great. Okay, so we've got Balin toys, and it is their Jet Power OP, or their Jet Fire from the live action movies, and it does combine minor parts combining onto this. So really cool. They're coming out of nowhere with this Prime. Now we're going to see it combining with the Jetfire parts. Looking really cool. This is something very interesting I might have to go in on just for this one little set. Just to get the Prime and to get the parts on it and have it powered up like this. I always thought that was kind of a cool aspect of the movie, and with that, yeah, it looks really good. It looks really good overall. It'd be interesting to see how they pull this off on such a small scale. It's really impressive that they're doing all this on a small scale. It was already a little bit challenging when you're doing it in a leader class, but Legends? Interesting. So Chang Tao Toys is making what appears to be a KO of the old Legends scale version of Megatron. They say it's going to be a true core class. I don't know if they're scaling it up or down, but it was the one that they made that turned into, well, the only thing Megatron should ever turn into. Gun, gun, gun. And there it is. And I when I saw the alt modes, when I was like, oh, I remember that. Because thought I was ordering something else. Thought I was ordering, I can't remember which one I thought I was ordering for $30. And I got this in. And I was like, oh, it's my fault for ordering the wrong thing. But it's interesting. And I used it for a while as a gun that would be held as Megatron. But now with all those other Megatron guns that are out there for Masterpiece and all that, then this was really unnecessary. But still, it's interesting that they're going this route and that they're resurrecting such a really old... It's over 10 years old by now. Well, I don't know if you'd say that Hasbro steals a show or anything with this, but this is interesting that they're going about this and the way they're releasing these. So this is a comic book kind of recolor of two characters separately, of course. And we're getting the Grimlock and we're getting the Shockwave. Now, both are great molds. They're fine. But I'll tell you a little bit about each one of them. First of all, the Grimlock, everybody that missed out on it the first time, passed on it when it came out, there were a lot of people skeptical that they wouldn't do all 5, so why would they want this one ginormous Grimlock and nothing else? Because that's what they did in the Masterpiece, right? It was what Takara did with Masterpiece. And once we see that we're going to see all of them, once we finally see Swoop, then people are like, well, I'll backtrack and let me get a Grimlock, but now they're $200-$300 for a Grimlock. And the thing is that this comic book one is still going to look way out of place. It's probably the closest of the 3 recolors they put out since the original, but they're not putting the original one back out. And it's one of those things, like, this is surprising, but I can see people buying it for, what, $55? Then you get the Shockwave, and it's, I think, $39.99, and it's a comic color. It's the first one they put out had the darker color I like more. Now this is more of a lavender color. It also comes with a stand and a for whatever reason, Optimus Prime head. I'm sure it's in the comic why Optimus Prime's head that you put on that stand. But interesting stuff that they're putting out, and they're both great molds, both great figures. Probably not the color scheme people want the most though. Then they come out of nowhere with a very G1 Sandstorm. Now I think it was on one of those leaked lists, but then you see it in person. And the one they made in the 30th Thrilling 30 Generations line, I got it, and I thought it was a cool figure, but the whole time I was thinking, what would have happened if they would have made this a real G1? Because I have the G1. So what if they really tried to make it G1? And I think they did a really good job. They really did make it look very G1. Here's the helicopter mode, which is very G1-esque, and I really think they did a good job with it. And very reminiscent of G1, and right on point. I don't have much to say about it. The bot mode has a lot of kibble, so did the G1. I don't know how you'd get rid of all of that kibble, and I don't know if I'd want to live through that transformation to get rid of all of the kibble. Just live with the bit of kibble on bot mode, so you have both these alt modes looking good. Here we go with the Dune Buggy, and I really like the Dune Buggy part here, and it looks good. I think they did a phenomenal job on this figure. It's kind of the sign of the times. Hasbro's doing really good work. I mean, they're not perfect, they're not Masterpiece, but wow, it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome how they've accomplished this. I will definitely be picking this guy up, and I'm not picking a lot of Hasbro stuff up this year. This is one of them. Now, since I already made a video about this, I don't need to spend a lot of time talking about it, but the Page Punchers, they're McFarlane making the 3-inch page punchers. And if you go watch my, was it Wednesday's video, the one I put out about Mask, and I do show the size comparison of the Lex Luthor next to Mask figures. They're almost exactly the same size as Mask figures, maybe slight tad bit taller, but they would blend well with your Mask collection. It would be pretty cool if you're into that, if that's the thing you're into. That's the only thing I'm interested in this. Comic books are cool. They're reruns of the IDW without IDW on it, which is interesting, but still, if you're into this, it's cool. I'm not picking up any of the Transformer stuff. I am picking up some of the Joe when it comes out. I'm not even pre-ordering any of it. Hopefully I catch some of it on sale, but if I miss it out on it completely, it's not going to hurt my feelings. So we got some in-hand pictures from Prime versus Prime, and this is the Gears, the new Legacy United Deluxe Gears. I wish I lived somewhere that these things were showing up on my shelf this early. It'd be really awesome to have it this early, but still pretty cool. I bet you didn't get it on sale though, so that's the trick there. He looks to be about the right scale. Looks pretty good. I think they did a really good job with this guy. And let's check out his alt mode. And there it is in the alt mode. And one of the things that people said, the wheels were a little bit thin. And even in the promo pics, they mistransformed it. So I will say that it looks a little bit better when it's transformed properly and the wheels are actually positioned properly versus the promo pics that Hasbro put out. So that's one of the things I like about the in-hand pictures. But yeah, it looks good in both modes. That's part of the reason you're getting these mini bots for $25. So Unique Toys, you know that company that said they're no longer going to be making any more Transformers, no more toys. Then they're making Masterpiece Scale, Revenge of the Fallen, Skids Mudflap, and these are the prototypes. I don't know why DX9 and Unique Toys, and I think another one of them said that they were just done making toys. They're done. And then now they have a little hiatus. Now they're back to it. So that's interesting. Anyway, if you're in on these characters, then this will eventually be your chance to pick them up. I don't know why I've got this in the mainline stuff. I don't know. I guess I thought for a bit it was a mainline release. So Transformers Legacy HasLab Omega Prime, let's just call it that, is cracked the 10,000 backers. Are you surprised? I'm not surprised. I think it's impressive what they've done. I think it looks pretty good, and I think that when we see the completed one, I will be probably thinking I should have picked it up. I just think what they've done with this is a pretty cool release overall, and yeah, it's one of those things. I don't think it would have sold well in the store. Didn't sell well in the store the first go around. Saw them on clearance all the time back in the day, but that could have just been a sign of the times. Here is the picture of the painted prototype, and I'm liking it more now that I see the paint on it. And then people did say it's been verified it will have some back metalized to it, and it's got all the stuff that I remember from the one I had back in the day. So it really is cool. It is a cool looking release, and those that are in on it, I mean, they're going to enjoy it. It's got a stand, and I guess the stand helps it stand. I never watched any video on this. I'm just looking at the pictures and just kind of reminiscing on the one I had. But anyway, I might still pick it up. I still got a little time. Alright, so this is the Selects Autobot Multi-Pack, Wheeljack, and Image Gallery. It's weird that we keep hearing all this about multi-pack, but is it going to be all 5 in one box, or is it going to be broken up? Because I still haven't seen that officially confirmed anywhere, and haven't seen packaging images yet. But looking at them side by side, this is the original one that they put out with the Wheeljack, which is kind of a yellowish white to it, and then the one on the right is a bright white, which I got to tell you, when I first opened it up and it looked a little bit yellowed to me and not bright white, I had this gut feeling they'd put a bright white one out down the road. I didn't know it would take them like 3 or 4 years. How many years has it been since we got this Wheeljack? Was it Earthrise Wheeljack? But it feels like a long time. Anyway, I like the new one better. That's just my stance. That's how I feel. Yes, people say that they could have the round curved part of the windshield. It should be curved around. That should be something that should resolve or fix. But anyhow, it still looks good to me. Overall, I think it's an okay release of a Wheeljack. Will they completely revamp it and do a better one? Let's see. So they have this Origins one coming out, and this is the weird part. Now it's been confirmed, you can see with the packaging, that it's going to be just a standard release. It appears to be a standard release versus the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Target exclusive. And With that, it's probably going to be more readily available and easier to get. I didn't have any trouble picking up the first two, but they were on the shelves for like 2 months, then clearance, then gone forever, which makes the first two pretty hard to get, and I bet you this one will be real easy to get. From a Wheeljack standpoint, it doesn't look as good as the one we just looked at. But from a unique, interesting alt mode standpoint, I think it's a necessity if you really like G1. So it looks like someone has found the Wave 23 Voyager Junkie on Scrap Heap and Gamer Edition Starscream at retail. But this is a pretty cool looking version. I think that they should put several other ones out with this deco. And the problem's going to be when they get too deep on these, yeah, they won't sell as well. But people are going to want Wreck-Gar back out. So I haven't heard anything about Wreck-Gar coming back out. But I can imagine they would eventually put Wreck-Gar back out. But I think it'd be fun to see how far they'll go, how many of these they'll make. I'm excited. I'm definitely in on this. I'm going to get one. And if they go on sale, I'm going to get a few. Let's just admit it. It's cheaper than going the KFC route. The KFC ones are a little bit better than the Masterpiece. But this is way, way cheaper. Alright, so time to talk about some stuff other than Transformers. You know, it's funny. Are you sick of listening to Transformers news? Probably not. There was a time when I thought everybody wanted to tune into my channel just for the Star Wars content. But it seemed like Transformers was actually more of what people were interested in. I put Star Wars at the end because I thought that was the draw. So you got to sit through the whole thing to watch Star Wars. That was funny. But I still keep doing that anyway. Now nobody just watched Star Wars. But Masters Universe. This is exciting this week. We're seeing Eternia. We're seeing it show up. And I'm going to tell you, I've watched, I want to say a bunch of unboxings, reviews, and stuff. Just kind of put it on as I'm working on things. And there's a couple of minor gripes, I guess you could say, that I've got about this. But it could be their lighting. There's a lot of different factors and elements to it. So when I get mine in, I will save any negatives until I get mine in hand and I can confirm my thoughts on it. But 99% of what I'm looking at, I'm liking. And so I am impressed with a lot of stuff on here. With that being said, I'm glad I did the early backing because the King Grayskull figure is very expensive. This is your brain on drugs. This is your King Grayskull on eBay. Pushing $300. This not quite 300, but in the realm of over 250. It's pretty crazy. I didn't think it would be this much. And I was thinking kind of like the Cobra Commander that's out there. That Super 7. Is it Super 7? No. The classified Cobra Commander. That thing's selling for like $100 and something. I figured this would be the same price range. Maybe this is just like an initial flood of people just spending crazy money on it and afraid that they're not going to get one. I don't know. But here we go. With sold listings of $250, $295, $250. A little bit crazy if you ask me, but still, it's one of those things I forgot that only the people that backed it early got it, and that was only like, what, a couple thousand? It wasn't, or how many was it? I don't even know the number on it. So it's not like everybody that got an Eternia got one, and I had to go through some crazy stuff to get mine backed early and had to pay for it right away. This was a pain in the butt to get the figure, but I guess I'm glad I did. Alright, so what's going on with Super 7 and their Silverhawks? I gotta jump the gun here. I want to say some Super 7 stuff. So they've revealed their Copper Kid, and I gotta tell you, this digital render, I don't think it's gonna come out this shiny. I was looking at the digital render hard and thinking, are they low-key putting out vac metalized? Because it is really shiny looking in this picture. None of their figures they've put out so far look that shiny in person, in hand. But I also looked through Wave 1 pictures, and those look really shiny like this too. Or was it Wave? Yeah, Wave 1. So anyhow, I think this is a definitely a necessary purchase to complete the set. It's a necessary figure. I pre-ordered mine on BBTS. If you go through Super 7, you get the extra little head and gun thing, but you have to order the whole thing. The whole thing's $205. So the figure looks good, the Space Racer looks good, and I'm pretty impressed with what they've done here. And with that, I did pre-order the figure. I didn't pre-order the Space Racer bike because of the fact that I do not think that it's worth the price. But I don't like what's kind of going on with either option. Ordering them straight from Super 7, paying now for 2 years from now, or having a non-refundable deposit through BBTS only to watch it go on sale. Now, I got burned on that Thunder Tank, which is why I'm a little frustrated with the options here to purchase this thing. It's $150. When I first saw this, I thought it was $150 for the figure and the Space Racer, and I actually was about to add it to my cart, but it slowed me down because of the non-refundable deposit. And on the figure Obscura, I had a problem with the figure Obscura, and I was going to cancel that, just lose my non-refundable deposit, but it didn't give me an option to cancel it anymore. So I think the same thing's going to happen with this, and I got burned on a Thunder Tank for $550 when now I see them for $300 at places, and I would have rather waited. I was confused about the Thunder Tank because my understanding was they're only producing what's ordered, and I didn't know they were going to produce an extra 5,000 extra. That I didn't know that. But I thought they were only going to produce 2,000, not 8,000, or however many they decided to produce at the last minute. Same thing with this one. They're probably going to be lower production numbers, but there'll probably be some on sale down the road. And if I miss it, it's not going to break my heart. It's not the most important thing in the world. But for diehard Silverhawk collectors, they're probably going to pony up whatever they got to pony up to get this thing and not miss out on it. I'm playing chicken. Now for the superpowers, this Manta figure, I do not have it. I missed it. And part of that is because it was a Walmart exclusive. And I've not seen any of my Walmarts get a new figure for superpowers for almost a year. Maybe it's only been 9 or 10 months, but it feels like a year since I've seen a new one on the shelf. And with all of that, you can get this at Entertainment Earth if you buy the whole wave. You have to buy the whole wave to get it, and they're sold out. Now, I don't believe sold out on Entertainment Earth anymore because they're playing games with Super 7 Thundercat figures, and I couldn't piece the whole wave together. Get a couple snarfs here and get a this, that, or another, and I didn't have any fun with that whole process. But with that, I don't trust their sold outs anymore. I believe once they get their shipment, there'll be more in stock, and you'll be able to get it, get your discount on it, and all that kind of stuff. But you got to buy all of them again if you want to get a Manta, which sucks, because I'd like to get a Manta. All right, so we've got some in-package pictures of figures from Boss Fight Studio for Fraggle Rock Wave 1, featuring Gobo, Uncle Traveling Matt, Red, and Doozer's 2-pack. And is that everything? Did I cover it all? Anyhow, pretty cool stuff if you're into this. I never see Fraggle Rock stuff. I do think Super 7 made reaction figures for Fraggle Rock, but they do not have this level of articulation. These kind of remind me, size, scale, articulation-wise, of what they just made recently for the Mario and Luigi figures for the Mario movie. This is the feel I get, except some of the characters, of course, smaller, but I just don't see stuff like this. It's pretty cool. All right, so it looks like Star Wars news here. It looks like the 25th anniversary. Every saga has a beginning. Episode 1 is going to be put back out in theaters. Returns to theaters May 3rd of 2024. That's the weird thing about all this, is that I don't know how good this is going to do, how well it's going to do. Be interesting to see the box office sales numbers to this, whether or not it was a great idea to put it back out. Seems like the Phantom Menace kind of runs things at retail. Will it do well at the box office? That's just interesting. I'm curious to see how that works out. They also talk about the Mandalorian and Grou movie, which will be released May 22nd of 2026, 2 years from now, and filming will be set to begin on June 17th. So that's something interesting going on, Mandalorian and the Grogu movie. Now, I do want to say, though, Disney put out their Q1/Q4 earnings report and said that they still had net earnings of $1.91 billion, so they're still making the money. As we're talking about movies, I'm just going to jump off topic real quick. Mad Max Furiosa is going to be in theaters May 24th of 2024. So it's another Mad Max movie. It's based, I guess, the origins of Furiosa And if you just want to have an enjoyable Mad Max movie, it's probably going to be pretty good. I enjoyed the last one that they made, and I figured this will be right along those lines. And they sure did make Chris Hemsworth look pretty rugged in this movie. I guess this week the real news is that there's this Ewing. It is up for pre-order at places. It is for the Vintage Collection. And it has a sliding cockpit, a few other things with it. It comes with this KE-4-N4 Astromech. Can I say it right? Droid. Now the pilot doesn't come with it. It's separate, which you could say they're cheaping out, or you can say, oh, but I wanted the pilot, just the pilot on the card, like the A-Wing pilot came on a card, all those things. Which I can understand, but of course they could release both. But it's $100, and I'm not in on it, but it's cool. It looks cool. It's a bit reminiscent of an X-Wing, but a modern, stylized take. We saw it in the most recent the Ahsoka show. So I guess that's what it was in. Anyhow, if you're in on this, then get in on it for $100. So let me know what you think about this week's weekly news and review. What else is going on out there that I missed? What other cool stuff is going on in the world? Like and subscribe. Petty Arm Hanger out.